Hey everyone, this is Rob from Phantom Trading, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a quick trade breakdown on GU. The trade, I took it on June 26th, the Monday, which was yesterday, and I closed it out on the 27th, early this morning, Eastern Standard Time, around 2 or 3 a.m. And I just wanted to show you guys a breakdown of this trade because we have pretty choppy and rangy price action. So the topic of today's video is how to deal with rangy market conditions and how to trade it. And essentially what I'm going to do is show you the trade that I took, which kind of fit within my plan. And we're going to cover, why I took it and how you can take advantage of markets that maybe aren't ideal, right? So here's the trade. This is just a screenshot of my MT4. And you can see I sort of set some partials and stuff. I ended up closing it out manually for about 5R, and I'm going to show you guys how I did that. But let's get started with the weekly chart here. We'll just do a quick breakdown. So as you can see, weekly is overall pretty bearish, but you've started to violate supply, and the last 3 or so weeks have been pretty bullish. Now it's only Tuesday. I don't know how this week is going to close out, but essentially the way that I'm viewing it is we have this weekly supply zone that price initially reacted to and then sort of violated completely. Okay, and to be fair, we had swept it as early as about 6 or 7 weeks ago here. So I'll mark this out sort of just as liquidity that's getting taken out, but we can also view this as these internal structure breaks, right, which on the lower time frames are going to be more clearly a daily break of structure. So that's really all there is to mark out on the weekly. For GU here, moving down to the daily, you can see what I've marked out is that recent structure break, right? Our daily structure breaks here. Sorry if it's a little hard to see. I have my template set here for a dark chart, so hopefully you can see it. But you can see we broke structure here, we then broke structure here, and I'm talking of course about swing structure, and looks like we have some old markups here. I'm not going to bother marking out the swing points here. Just a matter of kind of looking at, again, supply and demand failing, right? So we have supply obviously failing, demand is holding, although we are manipulating lows a little bit before we do it, which is to be expected, right? And if I were to mark out this, we can see that we actually sort of respected this. I'm going to mark this out as a 4-hour zone because we're just marking out a daily wick. I could alternatively mark it out like that, but I'm going to mark it as such, and we can see that the daily is pretty bullish. If I were going to mark out swing points, it'd probably look a little something like this, right? We have this high that got taken out. Obviously we break above, our low would have been here, we pull back, right? We pull back some more, we don't break this high, we just sweep it, we violate a little bit, we don't violate it enough to consider a structure break. So we have a high, a higher low, a higher high, higher low, higher high. Okay, pretty simple swing structure on the daily there. Now moving down to the 4-hour, let's see what our 4-hour looks like here. So I've marked out this little range here. That makes sense. I mean, you could mark out this this bullish candle here if you want to, whatever makes sense to you. And then in terms of 4-hour structure, it's pretty simple. I mean, we're bullish. There's no getting around that, right? We have an extremely bullish trend here. Of course, we slow down in more recent price action, but I'm just gonna mark out these rough 4-hour breaks that we have, right? So we've obviously broken this high, and we're continuing to push up. This is a pretty small pullback, so I'm not counting that. And I would say that we're pretty much stuck between this structure range here, from this high to this low, and we're bullish overall. Now we can look to the left, and we can see that there's a ton of imbalance sitting above here. We're not really in any supply zones, so there's not much to look at there. Of course, when we take out highs and stuff, we can expect pullbacks. And if we're in a supply zone, maybe we can expect that we're going to generate a pullback in the form of a reaction to a supply zone in a bullish market, but we're not really getting that, right? So we don't have any major supplies. We're not even really in this larger range that we have above here, okay? So 4-hour to me is bullish. The other thing that we can quickly mark out here is this demand level, which is not the best, but this ends up being the catalyst for what I was essentially looking for when I was looking for my long position, okay, on Monday. And I took it around 10:45 a.m. Eastern, so you can kind of figure out what time that is for you. But we have this demand zone, and honestly, it's not the greatest demand zone. It doesn't really sweep anything. We can look at the 1 hour and kind of see what it does. It doesn't do much. It does kind of sweep this, right, which is a flip zone. If we're kind of looking at, like, this is the way that I try to view it, right? If we view this larger sort of supply zone here, we can see that we created a reaction on the 1 hour here. That reaction then gets swept, and then there we go. We kind of have this range, right? I mean, essentially, I marked out the range. You could have marked out this, but it doesn't get tapped into, right? And I'm okay with marking out the range. We can see on the 4 hour that it is the same thing. It's a range. On the daily, it's wicks, right? So I'm not really looking at that, but it makes sense to me, right? We have demand that's kind of holding here. We're in a bullish market. We have a huge expansion from this level, and then more importantly, when we start to, and even from the 4 hour, right, I can start marking this out. You can see that we've generated liquidity here and we've started to sweep it. Okay, so we can see that, you know, price is very clearly in a pullback phase here. We have bullish price action. So if I were to draw sort of the range that we're in, we kind of push up. Let me change the color of this so it's a little easier for you to see. Change it to gray. Okay, and so this is our expansion, right? And now what are we starting to do? Well, we're starting to correctively pull back. Okay, doesn't look exactly like that, but you kind of get the point, right? Price is then kind of doing this, and what I'm waiting for is for price to shift on a lower time frame now that we are in this larger 4H zone. Okay, that's kind of the idea behind this. Now, of course, we're bullish, so I'm trading pro trend, right, which is a little bit of a change up from the last video. And there were some people complaining. They're like, oh, you know, I wouldn't take this because it's so counter trend. You guys don't trade this way. But you know what? That's what fits within my plan. And so do these pro trend trades, right? It really boils down to you as an individual trader, okay, at the end of the day. So no trader is going to be exactly the same. We're going to look at things slightly differently. And then there's, of course, you know, millions, billions of permutations of price action in the market. And, you know, you multiply that by the number of instruments that are out there. It's like, you know, you train for, you know, what pairs you want to trade and what price action you want to trade and how you want to trade it. And if you can produce a consistently positive edge with that, then there you go. You have a winning trading system and you can be a consistently profitable trader. And that's really all I've done, right? There are trades that other people on the team take that I would never take. I mean, I don't even touch the 1 minute, right? And you know, I obviously executed this on the 5 minute. I'm going to show you guys now how we're going to break that down. But yeah, that's just the nature of trading for you, right? So looking at the 15 minute here, this is obviously Monday. We can see that, again, it's really choppy and rangy price action. But again, I can justify taking longs. To me, it's pretty obvious that, you know, I think that people who are trying to run short, sellers are basically being manipulated into taking these positions, and I'm kind of playing the opposite side of that, trying to get long. Okay, so immediately the first thing that I see on Monday is at around 7:30 a.m. and mind you, there was news. It wasn't restricted news or anything. Let me pull up what it was exactly. I don't remember. I think it was CB Consumer Confidence that we had. Let me just pull up this week. Oh no, sorry, that was today actually. I don't think we had news on the 26th. Maybe it was building permits or something. I'm not sure if that's today. Anyways, we had pretty volatile price action coming out of the gate through London low into New York session. And immediately the first thing that I noticed is, okay, we're manipulating these lows, kind of sweeping them, right? And even this low, right, from Friday. It's not the low of the day, but it's a pretty significant low. It's the low of New York session. Price manipulates the low, right? And if I play forward a little bit, we can see, okay, it starts shooting up quite a bit. So I'm thinking, okay, we're in a 4 hour range here. We've kind of manipulated some lows here, right? Could price come down and, you know, come into these levels? Absolutely. Like it could definitely do that. There's no doubt about that. But the way that I'm viewing it is, okay, we have a ton of liquidity here to target in the form of a supply chain. Now you could argue whether or not this is like an overdeveloped supply chain, right? We have supply obviously holding here. It's a little messy. Right? Again, it is range EPA, right? And we have sort of this like price trap, this counter trend price trap that happened here, right? Where, again, same thing. We had a supply chain, right? What ended up happening? Well, it ended up getting completely swept out by news here on Thursday. I think this was a BOE rate decision. If I remember correctly. Let me see. I'll pull it up on Forex Factor here. Yeah. So we had an official bank rate for GBP. So that's what caused that. Plus monetary policy summary. So you have to be aware of these high impact news events, right? Because you don't necessarily want to be in a position when this is happening. You would have got swept out both sides, right? If you were anywhere near here, or if you were in shorts from Tuesday or Wednesday, or even Monday, right? It swept all of it essentially. So, anyways, my point is, I'm thinking, okay, supply is technically in control here, but I see the lows being manipulated. And if we look at the bigger picture, right, demand's in control in the 4 hour. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to look for longs here. I think that's worth taking the risk of doing, right? So we hop down to the 5 minute. We know we're in a 4 hour zone. And all I'm looking for is some sort of a supply failure. Okay, so we kind of get that here on the 5 minute. I'm going to mark it as a 5M boss here. And we're going to play through price a little bit. I'm going to show you what I was thinking. So this is now 8 in the morning. I'm kind of thinking, okay, price is not doing much. And then it starts to pull back here at around 840, right? Ranges around a little bit more. I'm just thinking, okay, I want to take a long off of this this demand level, right? We're starting to generate a little bit of liquidity. We had we had another minor like 5 minute break here. Now you could argue, okay, it swept it, and maybe it's just manipulating it, right? Maybe this is just, kind of doing something like this, but you know what? I think that's not bad. Okay, so that's not really what I was thinking, though that could have happened, right? Because we were thinking, okay, again, price could come down into this 4 hour refine zone, right, within the 4 hour range. But essentially, I was looking at this as a little bit of liquidity that's being built up. Now, mind you, it doesn't really break anything to the upside. If anything, you could view this as that liquidity, but it already got taken here. And so all I did was I threw an order on roughly around here. I actually have to check where I got filled on this, so give me 1 second. Okay, so 126990. This is a little higher than that. My stop was about 9.5 pips or so. I didn't even bother covering the low. And yeah, so from here, let's watch what happens. Price kind of ranges around some more, and then right around here I get filled at around 10:50 a.m. Eastern. Okay, so within the New York session, it's pretty nice. I had my break-even level up here, okay, or my trigger, okay, so my break-even trigger is there, and obviously that means my stop loss was originally here, and then I ended up trailing it to just above, right, to cover commissions and spread and everything. Okay, so then price sort of just ranges around all the way through spread hours. Okay, so spread hours here, there's spread hours, gets pretty close. I'm not really looking at it at this point, right? And this doesn't really show what happens. For FTMO, it ended up like wicking down here, I'm pretty sure, from what I remember, because that's the one I was kind of looking at. And on one of my other accounts, it actually ended up taking out break even, but the rest of them were fine. So I was still able to, oh yeah, here it is. Okay, sorry, this is spread hours after 5, right, 17. And you can see it gets pretty close, right? But I was lucky enough that, the bid-ask spread, the way it widens, right? Obviously, if we're in a long position, it widens so that the ask is actually up here, the bid is down here, so it widened to the upside. So I was fine. I didn't get taken out except for one of my accounts with another prop firm, and it was fine, right? So then through Asia, we kind of just range around some more. We nearly touched the bottom, and I'm still in it at this point, right? Like full volume, I'm holding, and then I come back to the computer around 8-9 my time, right? And it just starts flying in Asia, right? And so I decide, okay, I'm gonna stay up to manage this a little bit because it's a pretty good position. I'm full volume still, and right around here, I decided, okay, I'm gonna take 80% off. So normally I don't like taking partials, but with the way price has been moving, it's obviously really rangy, right? So I'm thinking, sorry, I think my stop must have been a little smaller than that because somewhere around here. I ended up taking partials at around 5R. I took 80% off of 5R, so I secured about 4% or 4R net on that, right? And then it continued to push up, and then I was just like, okay, you know what? I want to go to bed, so I'm going to close this out completely, right? So I think that it was in or around this time. It ends up pushing further, but I was in bed by that time, so I ended up netting pretty much exactly 5R. I think I closed the remaining around somewhere around here, 5.6R or something. So I wanted to target this from the start, but it's fine. I didn't want to sleep on an open position. I just didn't feel like doing that. Not with how rangy price action has been. So I used a little bit of my discretion on that one to manage it. But that's fine, right? So I'll just say TP on this one, right? And we can see that price ends up just continuing to push up higher, right? So we can change this. There, that's a little bit easier to see actually for you guys. Okay. So again, I net about 5R on that. And you know what, like 5R is a pretty good trade considering like the market conditions that we have here. So again, what was my whole idea, right? I saw this as liquidity. I think it did end up taking it out now, but even now it's kind of ranging a bit, right? So watch what happens in London, right? I ended up sleeping through this. I'm not in the position anymore, but let's just watch. Had I held it, right? It ends up pulling back pretty deep, right? And then here in New York, now we're kind of just still ranging. But I mean, we pushed up quite a bit, right? But imagine holding through that. I mean, you can't monitor it every hour of the day. You're gonna drive yourself crazy, right? Because it's like a roller coaster of emotions, right? I actually did a lot of journaling on this trade because I had to hold it through here. I journaled throughout Asia pretty much, just kind of checking in, right? Every time I was like, okay, I want to close it, but I'm not gonna close it. I'm gonna keep holding my full volume because that's what my plan is, right? I'm not deviating from it. And again, I ended up taking it for 5R because I don't know if price is going to now come down and come to mitigate this before popping up higher, right? Like that's very possible it could do it. The other thing that could happen is I could be maybe kind of wrong about it and maybe it's going to go up here, right? Ideally I wanted to target this, which I do think it's possible to hit it, but I'm not going to be that greedy to try and hold it when I can just take 5R and then continue to compound, right? Nothing wrong with that. So that pretty much concludes my breakdown of this trade. Again, here it is. I think this is on the 15-minute. It doesn't really show because this is broker time, right, on FTMO. But you can kind of see like where I had partials set and everything, and then I ended up just taking it, like I said, right? I had a partial set up here. I had partials set in and around this area, right? So it would have been nice. I probably could have extracted, honestly, anywhere from 7 to 8R had I held it, but I didn't really want to take that chance. So that pretty much concludes my trade breakdown. And again, when it comes to choppy price action like this, there is a way to trade it. It's just a matter of training yourself to be able to do it, right? So the only reason I was really prepared to take this is because I've done a bunch of end of day markups and playbooks that show me it is possible to trade stuff like this. Okay, so if you don't feel confident with trading certain price action like this, look for trade setups that fit within your plan, right? That makes sense to you, that you can honestly say, right? You have to be honest with yourself. Okay, I would take that, right? In the live market. And it's not just, I'm just marking it up because it worked out, and it's not really a valid trade. I'm not reverse rationalizing it or anything. I've done a bunch of playbook markups like this, and so I know, okay, if this presents itself in the market, I can take it without hesitating. There's no fear, right? So that's kind of what happened with this. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick YouTube video breakdown on this trade that I took, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.